As always, I am Miss Kelly, this is Miss Mary Lou, and we are right in the midst of summer reading, like, yep, we are
swimming.
Treading water, is what I was going to say.
I'm swimming, I'm diving deep.
No, I think I'm treading water. I'm there, but not all there. But that's the idea. Today we're going to talk about ocean books.
Yes.
There are so many. I was astounded. Even off the new shelf, I just picked up like 5, and I was like, well, okay, this is going to be easy.
And you know what? Next month we're going to be doing survival books, and I think almost all the survival books that I'm planning to talk about are about water or ocean survival. So that's going to really
Miss Mary
tie it
Lou
up.
is ahead of me. I have not even remotely thought about what books I will be reading. So I'll try and find some that aren't ocean-based so that we have a variety.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
All right. Well,
All right.
Let's get started.
Yes.
Voila. Miss Mary Lou's first appearance.
Song for a Whale. Now, we have book talked this book before because it was a KBA nominee, maybe in 2020, 2 years ago, I think, or maybe last year, I can't remember.
I think it was just last year.
Okay, so we talked about it then, but I think this is a book well worth talking about again. It's just such a good book, and some of you all may not have seen that particular book by it. Song for a Whale was written by Lynn Kelly. And this, I don't know if any of you all saw the movie Coda that won the Academy Award for Best Movie this year, and Coda refers to child of deaf parents, a hearing child of deaf parents. And I think if you've seen that movie and you liked it, I think you particularly enjoyed this book. But anyway, this is about a girl, her name is Iris. Now she is not a Coda, she is deaf herself. And her parents are hearing, but her grandparents are deaf. And so her mother grew up in a household where she became totally fluent in American Sign Language as well as verbal language. Her brother is very fluent in American Sign Language. Her father, however, is not. And it sort of bothers Iris, probably more than a little, that her father has not bothered to master this language. But he knows enough to communicate. And of course, her grandparents, who are both deaf, they also are very fluent, and obviously that is their first language. So anyway, Iris, her parents will not send, there's a school out of her district that she really wants to go to. I think, I'm trying to remember when I read it, if she had gone to that school before. But she's now going to a school in her district that there's no deaf students in the school. Her previous school, there were a significant number of deaf students, and she had a little community. But right now, the only person she can communicate with in her school is her interpreter. And they become good friends, and he's a great support to her. But he, of course, he stays with her all day and interprets for her in school. Now, there's this one girl in her school that just wants to show how cool and on it she is. So she's got this book on American Sign Language, and she's trying to teach herself to sign. So she goes in Iris's face and starts signing, but it's gobbledygook. She doesn't know what she's doing. And it really takes Erin off, and she'll sign back, I don't understand, and the girl doesn't know what she's signing either. And so the girl just gets more emphatic, sort of like when you think somebody doesn't understand you, so you talk louder. So she gets more in Iris's face and, does more of that. It's driving Iris nuts. Anyway, there's this really neat video they see in school one day about whales. Their teacher shows this video about whales. And they have discovered a whale that is podless. And they believe that the whale is probably deaf or cannot hear the decibels that hertz, thank you, that the other whales communicate in. Now Iris's grandparents live on the coast, and some time ago a whale beached itself and died, and they did an autopsy, found out the whale was deaf, and they buried it. So whales that are deaf, and if you're interested in whales, you're going to learn a lot about whales in this book. Whales that are deaf, they can't communicate with other whales, and other whales won't accept them in their pods. And pods are really important to the survival of whales. They hunt together, they protect each other, but they're also very social, very intelligent animals, and so community is really important to them. So that whale that beached itself was podless and did not have the support of the community. And now there's this new whale, they've named it Blue 55, that the scientists are studying, and they tagged it and they're following it as it wanders alone to the ocean. And Iris becomes kind of obsessed with this whale. Now she also has the skill, she loves to fix things. She likes mechanics, and she will go to junkyards and flea markets and stuff and find parts and rebuild radios and all kinds of electronics. And she loves it because when she gets it right, she can plug it in and she can feel the vibrations and she can tell the quality of the sound by the vibrations that she can feel. So she thinks if they can get a sound, the scientists have figured out what decibel or hertz that the whale needs to hear. It's a pitch higher than what his species of whale hears. She gets her school orchestra to play a piece of music that's at that hertz level, 55 hertz, which is why they call whale blue 55. And she's got a recording of it, and she wants to figure out a way to play it for the whale. And she gets in touch with the scientist who's studying the whale, who says, that is a really good idea. So her grandmother cooks up a plot because her parents, the whale's in Alaska, and her parents won't let her go to Alaska to help them to watch these scientists work. So her grandmother works up a plot. But I'm not going to go into all that. This is such a delightful book. There's a lot going on in this book, and a lot of the whale's isolation speaks to Iris because of the isolation she feels. So there's a lot of that going on.
Based on a real whale.
Yes, thank you, yes. And so she, anyway, it's just a really exciting story, but you're going to learn a lot about whales and ocean science. There's so many good things in this book.
And,
Song for a Whale.
I feel like I have to mention it. If you're a BTS fan, the song Whalian 52, that's the same whale it's based on.
Say that again?
So there's a BTS song called Whalian 52, and it's based on the whale that this book is based on.
There you go. She's a big BTS fan. I mean, like, fangirl.
Yeah. So none of my books, as usual, am I going to be able to talk about nearly as long as Miss Mary Lou, because for the first time, I actually didn't finish any of them.
We've been really busy here.
I told you I'm treading water. But all three of them have been really good so far. So my first one is Consider the Octopus. How could I not read a book called Consider the Octopus?
What's really interesting.
Right?
Who wrote that?
Nora Raleigh Baskin and Gay Palsner.
I love Gay Palsner.
Yeah,
So good.
and Nora Raleigh Baskin, a lot of you have probably read 9/10, the September 11th story. That is always checked out. So, yeah, I tried to find out how they wrote it, like if one of them wrote one, because it's dual protagonists. We've got two main characters. So I was trying to figure out. I didn't do a ton of it.
I know she's got. I think she's got another book, Gay Palsner, that she wrote with someone else, and it might have been her. It's a tween book.
Okay.
She also writes teen stuff, and I've read her teen stuff, and she's just a great writer.
Yes. So I'm about, I want to say 25%, a third, 33% done. It's really good, and I also really like that it doesn't really matter that I'm only that far down, because I can already kind of tell what's happening, because it's told in non-linear form, which means it is not remotely told like A, B, C, D. It's like D, C, D, A. Like it's just not in a regular time format. So our main characters are Jeremy, J.B. Barnes, this dude, and Sydney Miller here, and this is her goldfish. Famous marine biologist. Oh my goodness. No, it's a woman.
Oh, okay.
Rachel Carson. She named her goldfish Rachel Carson because she's a huge nerd. And so JB, his parents have just gotten divorced, and his dad is a pilot. His mom works with the ocean, and so she is on the ship. Good grief, I thought I wrote that down. I think it's the Oceania 2, and they're working for the summer on the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So trying to clean it up, because not Americans, although we do create a lot. We do a lot of it. Humans in general create a lot of garbage, and a lot of it ends up in the ocean. And because of like the Gulf Streams and stuff, it tends to end up in literal like patches, islands, basically of garbage in the ocean. So his mom is trying to clean it up, and he gets stuck with her for the summer. He is not happy about it. He misses his friends. His mom is like, no, you can't use your phone all summer. You're gonna help out around here. So he has been tasked with, no, I'm getting ahead of myself, because the book starts, and JB, excuse me, is checking in students for the semester, SEA, like semester, but with C instead. Yeah. So they've all won places on this ship for writing essays about the ocean. And there's Sydney, who, wouldn't you know, there's also a famous marine biologist named Dr. Sidney Miller. And JB immediately realizes, oh no, because he had been tasked with finding and contacting all of these famous marine biologists and seeing if they could get on this ship, because they're afraid they're going to lose their funding, and it'd be a great PR stunt if they could get all these famous marine biologists involved in the cleanup of the garbage patch. And oops, he maybe contacted the wrong Sydney Miller, pretty definitely, but Sydney's her Nana is like real into synchronicity, like, oh no, these things happen for a reason, and like, I'm assuming we're gonna get the story, because she, her Nana, I guess, met her grandfather somehow, then it seems like, all these little things add up together, and it's like, oh no, this was definitely meant to be. So, now they're on the ship, JB's like, well, I messed up, you have the QR code, climb aboard? I don't know. So she's clearly just like hiding out on the ship, pretending to be this other person that she is not, because one of the kids didn't show up, nor of course did Dr. Sidney Miller, and he's trying to hide his mistake, and I'm not quite sure what she's trying to do. It has to do with her goldfish, for sure, but I'm not sure what yet. I'm very intrigued. I'm really hoping she doesn't dump the goldfish in the ocean, because like, I don't think that's their natural habitat.
No, not so.
No, so I really hope that's not what she's planning, but we'll see. But yeah, no, it's really fun. And every time, one of my favorite bits thus far, other than it being non-linear, I love non-linear storytelling, it's so good. The chapters are told between JB and Sydney, and it tells you once it switches point of views, but it's always Jeremy, JB, and then something in quotation marks in Barnes, and this one is, guy's gotta pee. So they're all very tongue-in-cheek, and I mean literally, it's him, he has to go to the bathroom, and that's where they first literally meet. They run into each other, he's coming out of the bathroom and she's trying to go to the bathroom, and they like literally collide. Or Jeremy, JB, I am the chicken Barnes. So, it's good fun.
Nice.
Yes. Highly suggest still, even if I haven't finished it. I can tell it's gonna be great.
Well, I've got a piece of fantasy here, and it's called Lalani of the Distant Sea, and it was written by the fabulous Erin Entrada Kelly. And one of the things I kind of enjoyed about this book it's what we I think we would call low fantasy. It's kind of more intense fantasy as the story goes on. But low fantasy is more like a fantasy that takes place in our world. You're not living in a whole different world. And kind of fantastical things happen in your world. So, and Erin Entrada Kelly is, her ancestry is Filipino. So she pulls a lot of Filipino myth and legend and folklore into this novel, which was very new to me. And a lot of it's very ocean related. There's lots of interesting little ocean creatures in this. But I'm gonna, it's a complex novel. And there's just a lot going on in it. So I'm going to try to give you at least a starting point with it. This is about a girl named Lalani, and she lives on this island. It's a small island. It has been experiencing a very long drought. And the island just almost seems cursed. There's just always trouble. The people are unhappy. They're very poor. There is a leader of the community that is, he's kind of almost like a little dictator in that he's the healer, he's the educator, he's the judge. He decides who marries who, he decides what work you do, he decides everything, controls everybody's life. And there's a name for him. Let me see if I can find it. And it's a lot of this is from a different language. So I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the word for what he is called. but they live, oh, he's called a Minoro. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have taken this while I'm finding that. But anyway, Lalani has grown up in a home with a loving father and a loving mother. Her mother is a mender, which means she mends the fishing nets. It's considered one of the most dangerous jobs on the island because when you get the needle pricks from mending, which you will do, there's no antibiotics. This is in a very, this is, what do I want to say, a very,
Technologically advanced.
there is no technology, there's none of that. And so people often will die of very simple infections. And particularly because of the healer, the Minoro, is not a good healer anyway, but the plants that they use for their medicines themselves have all died because of the drought. So it's particularly bad. So there's supposed to be an island not too far away that is known to be an island of abundance and, you know, a lush and a blessed island, just as this island seems to be cursed. So they gather over the year, they gather up all the wood they can find and they build a ship. And this takes usually a couple of years, and then they find 3 volunteer men to go on the ship to try to find this island. And nobody's ever come back, and usually the wreckage of the ship just washes ashore. And Lalani's father was one of those men, and he's dead now. And so her mother was given, this was not what she wanted, it was against her will, to this very mean man and his stepsons to marry, and they're really cruel. And ultimately her mother gets a needle prick and gets very sick. So Lalani, one day there's this big mountain on the island. And that mountain, when you go up the mountain, it's very lush and there are plants there, but it's forbidden. Only the Minoro can go on the mountain. Well, one day a sheep, this creature, they call it a shek, which is they shear that shek, and that's how they make the thread for their nets and stuff. This shek runs up the mountain and Lalani chases it. And when she goes up the mountain, she trying to chase the shek because they can't afford to lose it. She encounters this deadly creature that attacks her, and she's unconscious. And when she wakes up, she's in the home of an old blind man. And the old blind man tells her he's from that island, but he committed a crime, and they sent him in exile after they put his eyes out. And he said, but I'm going to grant you a wish. I can give you a wish. I have some magic. And she says, well, I wish for rain. So she leaves the mountain. She's punished when they see her coming off the mountain. But it starts to rain. And it rains. And it rains. And it rains and rains and rains and rains and rains. And it floods and it washes everything away. The mountain collapses. Many of the people on the island are killed. But Lalani is determined to build her own boat and go find this island. I'm leaving out a lot of details about things, but you know, this is just Ellen Trotty-Kelly, fabulous writer. She's won Newbery Gold, she's won Newbery Silver, she's a very awarded author. This book is so beautifully written. The character, Lalani, she's fabulous. So if you like, you know, really interesting, kind of complex fantasy, this is for you. It's just beautiful.
Well, then this is a perfect follow-up.
Ooh, Sworn Toward That. Yes.
Yeah. So we've got The Last Map Maker, by Christina Soon Torvat, who won.
She won two
Newbery
Newbery Honors in 1 year. She won a Newbery Honor for A Wish in the Dark.
Yes, and all 13.
And all
Incredible
13.
Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team.
But that she also won some gold medals for the nonfiction for that one as well.
Yeah, she's
a great writer.
Yeah. So
that just came out. That's a really new book.
It did. I think I'm only like the second or third person to check it out. I put it on hold. I had to put it on hold. Not just like other patrons. Yeah. So I believe A Wish in the Dark is also based on Thai. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thai Buddhism. Yeah.
Yes. So Soon Torvat is Thai. And so this is also based on some Thai history, mythology. I'm not sure which to say is the most accurate. But so the main character, Sai, here is the apprentice assistant to one of the best map maker in the land. And the country has recently gotten out of war. They're colonizers. It really seems like they're complaining about every time they take over another land, they have to go back and remake all the maps because they give it some new fancy name because they've taken it over and renamed it. But Sai has a huge secret. So in this land, it's very important what your lineage is. How many people back you can tell, yes, my great-great-great-grandfather, you literally, when you're 13, you get a lineal, which is like a bracelet or something. It could be multiple things. And each link represents each step back in your family tree that you know for certain. And that's prestige in this world. And Sai doesn't know any of that because, surprise, she lives in like the outskirts, in basically what are the slums. And she hides that real well. She had just gotten fired from a job and was wandering around when she was literally just like walking by the map maker's shop when he just like threw out his previous apprentice and was like, "You've ruined everything! Get out of here! Can nobody use a pen?" And she's like, "I can." And he's like, "Done! You're hired." So he doesn't know anything about her past or history, but her 13th birthday is coming up real soon, and when she doesn't get a lineal, it's gonna be like immediately obvious that she is not from a good background, and that she is horrified that he is going to find out and just toss her out. Because she really likes this job. And she's making money, but mostly she really likes it. She's pretty good at it. And there's some murmurings that maybe they're going back to war. Something's going on. They're retrofitting all these ships and making them fancy and maybe putting some war stuff back on them. And it turns out there's going to be an expedition. The leader is the leader of the country. I want to say it's a queen, but do not quote me on that. Is sending a boat north, a boat south, a boat east, and a boat west. And I believe it's south. Nobody has gone past this one line of the, like, I don't think it's quite the equator, but like that. They've never gone past it. And so there's rumors that they're searching for this hidden land where, who knows, it's supposed to be kind of magical. And Sai and her master end up on one of those boats. And they're gonna
I can't wait to read it.
adventures.
Yes.
It's been absolutely fabulous. I'm only like 40 pages in. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, one of the reasons that I was way ahead of you is because I've book talked this book before, so I've read, I read this a long time ago. But I'm book talking it again, sort of like a Song for a Whale, that you may not have heard that book talk, and this is truly one of my favorite ever tween books. And in fact, this is again for an older tween, I would say 10 and up. And this book really could be like 10 to 14, there's that category.
Mm-hmm.
We have a copy of this in our teen area as well. It's such a great book. We wanted one in our tweens and we wanted one in our teens. And it's called The Line Tender, and it was written by Kate Allen. And this book, you will like this book if you like realistic fiction. You will like this book if you like science, particularly marine biology. And you will like this book if you like art, because there's some gorgeous illustrations in the book. And our main character, Lucy, her mother was a marine biologist who died very suddenly. She had an aneurysm, which is like a blood vessel that just kind of explodes in her brain, and it killed her very quickly. And this was when she was out literally in her boat doing research. And she was studying great white sharks. And so Lucy has her mother's interest in marine biology, but she is also an artist. So there's a lot of sketches in here. She has a best friend, Fred. Fred. Now, when Lucy's mother died, she was 7 when her mother died, and she's now 12. Her father, who is, they live like in a little New England coastal town. Her father is a detective, but he does diving, when people have been are missing or they drown, he will dive and retrieve their bodies and do forensics on their bodies for how they died, that kind of thing. And he just fell into a really deep grief with the death of his wife, and their neighbor, who was Lucy's best friend, Fred, his mother really kind of looked after Lucy to make sure Lucy was fed and clothed and taken care of while her father was really kind of paralyzed by grief. And Lucy and the youngest son of that family, Fred, have gotten to be real best friends and grown up together. And as they're approaching their teenage years, you can tell that this relationship's really, they could be soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the things in here where Lucy she's friends with this elderly neighbor, and he said, I met my wife when I was a kid, and I loved her forever. He said it is possible to. So there's one of the things in there. It's soulmates. So Lucy and Fred, it's the summertime, and they're going to spend their summer studying nature. They have to, like the school project, they got to do this nature workbook, like summer project. And Fred is collecting all the science information, and Lucy's illustrating. She's sketching all the stuff that they're seeing. Well, one day somebody catches a great white shark. A fisher person catches a great white shark. It's huge, brings it up on shore. He's got the shark hanging there because he's gonna cut the jaw out to save you see this big jaw anyway. But overnight the shark disappears. So there's all these people investigating it.
How do you steal a whole shark?
And Lucy's father's a detective, so he's working on this too. But and Lucy, in the meantime, well, I don't. There's a lot I want to say, but not too far into the book, there's another tragedy that happens in Lucy's life, another really huge loss. And I don't want to say what that is because I want you to read the book and see what happens. But Lucy begins looking at her mother's research that she was doing on great white sharks and why they were coming in so close to shore. And she wants to pick up with that and start pursuing it as a way of dealing with this new layer of grief. This book is so beautiful. It is an exploration of grief. It's an exploration of art and science and love, family. It's just a beautiful book. I'm sorry, I'm just gushy, but I really love that book.
Nice.
I highly recommend it. Again, I would say for older, 10 and up. Just because it's just very complex.
My last book is not remotely like that. My last book is Escape from Atlantis by Kate O'Hearn, who most of you probably know at this point because those Pegasus and Valkyrie books are never on the shelf. Y'all just keep checking them out. So you're probably going to...
This is a new series.
This is more than one. This is the only one out just now. Book 2 comes out, I think, early next year.
Then there's some other author who's writing a tween series too about Atlantis. So we have at least 2 of.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. No. This is the first one, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if there's another one. Yeah. No, not like next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Boo. Hiss. So get that out of the way. Yeah, so Escape from Atlantis. We've got Riley and her cousin Alfie. They are up here on the prow of this ship. I think the prow? Yeah? The front?
I guess so.
The front end? I'm going to say that's right.
Yeah.
The front of the boat. The front of the boat. Yeah, they're on the front of the boat.
Yeah.
So Riley's here. Her cousin Alfie is a year younger than her. Riley's dad is a marine biologist. He is super into whales. And her cousin Alfie, her Aunt Mary has recently gotten divorced, and Alfie is a terror. And so Mary and Riley's dad are like, let's have a family bonding trip. And at first Riley's like, that fine, whatever, we'll go on the boat, it's okay. But then her mom and her older brother don't have to go, and she's like, why do I have to go? This is terrible. And again, Alfie, he's a terror. He is mean. He may be a year younger than her, but he is way taller than her now, so he's always calling her shorty. At one point, he's reading her diary, and she's like, you're the worst ever. She literally punches him in the stomach. And her dad's like, why would you do that? And she's like, he was reading my diary. Dad, he's horrible. Every time you're looking, he's fine. But when you and Aunt Mary turn around, he is mean. And right about that time, Riley sees something, and she's like, it can't be a mermaid. It's a weird looking mermaid if it is a mermaid, but it doesn't look like any fish I've ever seen. Her dad's like, no, that's not possible. It's definitely not a mermaid, Riley. I've been on this ship a million times before. It's definitely not a mermaid. And she's like, oh, fine, whatever. And she's thinking, she's like, oh, hey, Dad, where's the Bermuda Triangle? How far are we? And he was like, well, we've been in it for like the entire time we've been on this, but they're in the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah. He's like, we've been in it pretty much the entire time we've been on this boat, kiddo. And she's like, no. So she goes to bed that night and wakes up and she's like, ugh, Dad's at breakfast because he's burning the toast again. I can smell it. It's terrible. Nobody's in the kitchen though. All the food is burning, and then she's like, what is happening? So she races up to not the deck, the steering wheel area. The cabin, whatever. And Aunt Mary and her dad are just like, oh my gosh, go get your life vest. This is bad. And she's like, what do you mean? They're like, that. And they're pointing off at a storm in the distance that is like red and black, and it appears to be chasing them. And they're like, it's a storm. And it's red and black and it's chasing them. They're like, every time we turn and try and go another direction, we swear this storm is chasing us and follows us that way. We turn and it follows us that way. Go put your life vest on, this is bad. The boat, there is a giant monster that comes and literally just like chomps at the boat. And so they're in the life, well, they try to make it into the rescue boat, but don't quite make it. And they're all wearing the life vest, they're all tossed overboard, and Riley hears this voice come up and is like, don't worry about it, just sleep. And she feels like a pinprick in her leg, and next thing she knows, she's waking up on a beach, and freaking out, of course. It's just her and Alfie. Their parents are nowhere to be seen. And so they're exploring, and they're like, okay, surely, like, if we're here, we're close to land, we're close to civilization, it's fine. We'll find some. We'll just keep walking, and we'll find like a resort. We'll find people. It'll be okay. So they leave their life vests with an arrow, so that if their parents show up, they know which way they went. Hey, we were here. We went that way. Nope. They just keep going, and they don't see hardly anybody until they happen upon this kid who walks out, and he has this freaking enormous dog that attacks them, sort of. It's like a happy dog attack. Not like an attack, but like a giant glomp slobber all over sort of attack. And this kid's like, hey, I'm Bastion. Welcome ashore. Let's go to the community. They have everything you'll need. And it's super creepy. It's so creepy. They're like, how long have you been here? And he's like, I don't know, always. It feels like forever. It's super creepy, and things are not going to go well. You can already tell. And when they finally get there, they're like, hey, welcome to Atlantis. And they're like, Atlantis? You mean like the ancient? It's not quite the Atlantis you think of, though, because it's just like they all live in like parts of boats that have been like stuck in the land. There's like the front half of a giant cruise ship that is just like stuck in the mountain, and that's where most of the people live. They live in the cabins in the cruise ship. And Alfie is just like, no, my mom! He was a terror before, and now he's just really traumatized, the poor kid. And the leader is this older gentleman, probably I think they say like 40s. And well, I mean for kids, yeah. And so there's not many kids. There's like a dozen maybe. Everyone else is slightly older. And there's also these areas that they can't go to. They're searching for their mom and dad, and they happen upon the red cloaks. And one of the guys turns and notices them. They're not supposed to be there, and he chases after them. And there's a tail peeking out of that cloak, and something going on. And then they meet this other creature whose name is P, and who looks like a giant koala bear and talks. They're talking animals, and there's so much mystery, and I'm intrigued, and yeah, I'm 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of that has happened in the first 25%.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. There's a forbidden zone, so they're obviously gonna go travel to the forbidden zone.
Sounds
Like
a
I'm
really
already claiming that.
real fast moving story.
Oh yeah, super fast.
Yeah.
But really fun. If you like adventure, slight fantasy, you're gonna love this book.
So before we wrap up, we want to remind you of some events coming up.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
I'm sure we do.
We've got, is it next Tuesday? It's the second Tuesday in July. Yes. Not this coming Tuesday, but the one after. The Sip to Go?
That's
For
not a
tweens?
Tuesday. That's on a Friday.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Look at our calendar.
Yes, please.
We have a Sip to Go,
Where it's an after hours
for
on a Friday
tweens
for
only.
tweens.
and we also have a breakout room.
Yes, a couple weeks after that we'll have an after hours breakout room. Bermuda Triangle based.
Yes, yes, and that you have to sign up for.
Yes, both of those,
Both of
since
them.
they're
Sign
after
up for-
hours.
Yes,
Well, I think I'll tweet things, just so I know how many things to prepare.
yeah.
You know, just let us know.
It's
It's
gonna
great.
be fun. It's gonna
Yeah.
be really fun. Yeah, you want to do the Sip to Go without
Without your little siblings
Right,
in
right,
the way.
right, right.
Yeah.
All those little kids.
Heck, I want to come play with it without
I know.
the kids.
I want the blue blocks, please. Yes. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, so I will see you hopefully like right now, you know, while this is airing. You're not actually watching, you're here joining me for Octopus Day.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, we'll see you in the library. Bye guys.